Hello there, welcome to today's Advective weather video. Today we are going through the significant winter and the major severe weather events that are ongoing and expected to begin shortly. Take you through the winter weather in the second part of this video, focusing on the main threat, the severe weather, in the first half. And here we have it. The headline is strong tornadoes expected for 2 enhanced risks back to back. Quite unusual for February, especially with how far north tomorrow's event is going, all the way into Canada with that marginal risk. Level 3 out of 5 risk for both days. Looking at today's risk, the threat in the western part of that is primarily large hail and damaging winds, as the storms are not expected to be surface-based. But if a single storm can get to the surface and start producing tornadoes, there could be some very significant activity out there. Be aware of that. If it does occur, you will of course receive warnings from your local National Weather Service office. Overnight, this shifts east and a corridor of more potent conditions will set up, allowing storms to produce potentially multiple strong tornadoes through that enhanced risk area. Tomorrow, strong tornadoes are once again likely towards the southern part of that enhanced risk in Mississippi and Alabama. As you go farther north, the enhanced risk is instead driven by the damaging wind threat, but tornadoes will be possible anywhere within the risk on both days. Please be aware. Here, going into more detail in today's forecast, you can see with the roads and the counties, quite a large area coming from Dallas-Fort Worth all the way into western Kentucky with that slight risk, and the enhanced risk of particular concern from the southeast part of Arkansas through to extreme western Kentucky. Here is the 4-panel outlook showing you the individual parameters. As you can see, that hatched yellow in the top right indicating the highest risk of tornadoes, 10% SIG. Indicative of the potential for strong EF2 plus tornadoes. Looking at the hail, you can see that there is an area of heightened concern for large hail along the dry line in Oklahoma and Texas. That's along the Red River. Some large hail possible out there. And looking at the wind, you can see that it's actually a larger area than the tornado threat due to the wind threat persisting for a short time after the conditions die down and the storm complex moves farther northeast. Here is tomorrow's threat. You can see a very large enhanced risk starting almost at the Gulf Coast and going all the way up into northern Ohio. Again, very unusual for the time of year. Maybe the farthest north marginal in February, but I'm not certain, and you'll have to check elsewhere for that information. Here is the 4-panel outlook. You can see a larger significant tornado area than today across a large part of Mississippi and Alabama, including Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, Meridian, Hattiesburg. Hail threat much lower tomorrow than today, but that enhanced risk for wind coming from southern Mississippi all the way into northern Ohio, and once again tornado threat does reach into Ohio. Here is the overall pattern outlook. Broad scale, we'll zoom in a bit closer. Is the low resolution NAM to give you a better idea of the general pattern. You can see a low is forming in the plains and it will move to the east, bringing severe weather to the south and east of it, and near blizzard conditions on the northern side from Colorado all the way through to the Great Lakes. Zooming in for today's event, you can see that as we go through the afternoon hours, suddenly storms fire along the dry line in Oklahoma and Texas. Potential for some strong surface-based storms. We hope that doesn't happen because there could be a quite strong tornado out of that if a storm does get low enough in the atmosphere. And as you go into the overnight hours, you can see those storms to the west die out, and then there's a brief burst of more substantial storm activity along the Mississippi River. But again, this could fail if conditions aren't quite right. It is February, but everything's perfect, and you still get busts at any time of the year. It's just more susceptible to failures with an event like this where it's sort of on the edge for the moisture. Going into tomorrow, you can see that the storms die down pretty well overnight and then come roaring back in the afternoon. Very messy, but there is potential for tornadoes within there with embedded supercells, squall lines, lots of messy storms. It's very difficult to work out what's going on. Just please pay aware, and if you're in a warning, treat it as if a tornado is on the ground, because it will likely be very difficult to confirm whether or not such a tornado is ongoing during the event, and you don't want to take chances. Going to the northern part of tomorrow's event, you can see that In the afternoon, there are some supercells through Kentucky, Indiana, and southwest Ohio. And those are only going on for a couple of hours, but it only takes one storm. And if that storm is over your location, you will want to be taking shelter if a tornado warning is issued, of course. Damaging wind possible with any of these storms, and severe thunderstorm warnings will most likely be issued for large parts of the risk area. It's not impossible for a tornado to occur all the way up to Lake Erie, but it's much more likely the farther south you go. Again, please pay attention to local National Weather Service offices and have a way to receive warnings. So here's what you can do. Thunderstorm watches will be issued imminently for today, and of course they will be issued in due time tomorrow. Once that is upgraded to a warning, take action immediately, but when you're under a watch, take care. Here is what you can do with the overnight storms tonight. Helpful graphic from National Weather Service New Orleans. You want to have your cell phone, your mobile phone charged so that it doesn't run out of battery before you get an alert if a tornado warning is issued for your area. If you have a no-weather radio, that is the best way to receive warnings at any time of day. They are very good at waking people up in the night. Plenty of people have said they've had their lives saved when they were woken up by their radio. Of course, you want to have supplies. You want to have shoes near your bed in case you need to quickly get to your shelter place. You don't want to have windows blown in and then glass on the floor and you don't have any adequate footwear and you're trapped in your safe place. In a worst case scenario, you'd want to be able to leave your house if it is collapsed by a tornado. And of course, you need to know where that safe place is, safest place in your house. Work it out before you go to sleep. Make sure everyone knows to go there if a warning is issued for your location and you need to seek shelter in the night. And please make sure you have a way to wake up if a warning is issued. The deadliest time for tornado events is during the night because not everyone wakes up in time. You can make sure you stay safe by making sure you wake up if a tornado warning is issued for your location. Now, moving on to the winter weather. The first part of the event produced substantial snowfall across Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada, Utah, and to be honest, most of the western United States. However, this moved to the east, and this low is now going to eject from Colorado through the plains and into the Great Lakes. But as you can see, it's bringing quite the trail of snow with it. Get into the totals in a moment, but near blizzard conditions expected through the central plains as this storm system moves out to the east at the same time as it's bringing the tornado threat to parts farther south. Once again, as this storm moves out, very cold air will be driven south into the Four Corners area behind the storm, and this could produce near-record lows. You want to have a way to stay warm with these conditions, especially if you've lost power due to the storm, or if you may lose power in Colorado where the storm is still ongoing. You do not want to be traveling at all in that swath through Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin, and Michigan unless you are fully prepared for such weather, and there aren't many people who will be prepared for such weather, especially if you're just commuting. You want to leave before the storm gets to your location. If you're coming home from your day job or going shopping, you want to get supplies before the snow arrives, as always. Just avoid travel, if at all possible, as soon as the snow starts, and try to get any essential tasks done before the snow arrives at your location. Here is the overall pattern. Very messy but active setup. Fronts all over the place, but you can see those hatched regions of particular concern. Heavy snow across the central plains. Freezing rain possible across parts of the Midwest. And that large region of severe thunderstorm threat that we went over earlier. Additionally, large area of rain may lead to some flooding, and there is a critical fire weather risk on the Texas-Mexico border in the southwest. Here are all the warnings out at the moment. No thunderstorm watches issued at the time of this video, but you can see that winter storm coming all the way from Four Corners through to the Great Lakes. Can't see any blizzard warnings on this, but some may be issued if blizzard conditions appear likely as the storm moves out. There were some earlier for the northern plains. I think that was yesterday. As you can see, the snow has died down significantly across the northern and northwestern parts of the lower 48. There was some substantial snow ongoing over the past 2 days in those locations, still continuing in Colorado and yet to come across the plains and Midwest. Here is the winter storm severity index. As you can see, the extreme from the mountain areas of the Four Corners has gone, but there is still major areas in populated parts of Colorado and a small part of major in northern Kansas. These areas highlight the greatest threat to anyone trying to drive or do things that they shouldn't be doing in heavy snow and near blizzard conditions, but anywhere within the moderate you should not be traveling at all. Minor impacts could still cause treacherous driving. You want to take particular care. Go slow, be safe. Here's a snowfall forecast. Anywhere in blue is 6 inches, half a foot or more. Isolated total of a whole foot still possible in southern Colorado. Totals of around 8 inches possible as maxima in Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, gradually dying out as it heads towards Michigan and off into Canada. Of course, what you can do, all the watches and warnings are already in place, pretty much, apart for the farthest eastern part in the Great Lakes, Michigan and such. Hopefully you've taken action and gotten your supplies ahead of the storm, as these warnings have been in place for several days, very well forecast, very well warned event. But if you haven't and you've still got time, go and get them today, because it is happening this evening into the overnight hours. After the storm, if you lose power, be safe when getting warm. Of course, you need to stay warm. That is the most immediate threat, but you want to keep it safe. If you have a candle or space heater, you want to keep it away from children and pets so that it can't be knocked over. If you're using an outside generator, of course, keep it far away from your home so that the fumes it gives off can't get inside and cause carbon monoxide poisoning. Fortunately, a lot of people die from improper generator use at all times of the year after natural disasters or dangerous weather events. Once you are safe and warm, check on your neighbours, make sure they're all right too, but be aware that due to the significant snowfall, it will be difficult for emergency services to get to anyone for several hours after the event ends. And here are the 3 warning levels. As you can see, considerable travel problems likely across a large part of the United States with this winter weather event. Blizzard warnings have not been issued for today, but we are at near blizzard conditions are expected, which includes whiteout conditions, so there is the potential that some areas may be upgraded to a blizzard warning if it is worse than anticipated. And as you can see, that is the do not travel level at all. It is not worth the risk if that happens. And we're getting very close to that. I personally would not be travelling at all, but if you think it is essential, it's your right, your risk to take. But please take care, drive slowly, be aware that the roads will be treacherous and other drivers may not be taking as much care as you do. That's all for today's video. We hope that we've been helpful, and if you have any additional questions you'd like to ask us, we are available almost all the time on Discord. Send us a ping and we will answer your questions. Of course, down in the comments we'll be happy to answer any questions as well, and of course, please stay safe. Thank you.